friends. So first off, I just wanted to say sorry for not posting last week. I was really sick again. I have the immune system of an infant. Also, it's really cloudy outside, so the lighting is probably going to be a little bit funky, but oh my god, what a beautiful day. I woke up today and I walk out to take the dogs out today and it's fall, baby. It feels good. It's windy, it's cloudy. I'm so in the spooky mood right now, so I'm really excited for this video. So today I am going to talk about my favorite horror movies on Shudder. Well, it has some really good classic horror films. It has some cult horror films. It has some more obscure horror films. Oh, so I wanted to make this movie months ago. This movie? What? No, I wanted to make this video about movies months ago, but I was like, well, I'll watch, okay, this is the really ambitious part of me speaking. I'm like, I'll just watch every movie and then I'll pick out like my top 5 and talk about those. And then I was like, calm down, no, but talk about your favorite like 5 right now, and then like in a few months you can talk about your new favorite 5. Yeah, so if you're just, you know, stumbling on Shudder and you're like, I don't know what to watch, hopefully this will help you out a little bit. Also, I found some really weird ones and I would love to make a video on the weirdest horror films on Shudder, but I don't know who that would help, you know, because I don't think people are searching like, what are the weirdest movies I could watch right now? I just want to trip out. But I saw some pretty strange ones as well. But anyways, if you guys want a video of the weirdest movies, I could do that too. Enough with the rambling. Let's talk about the movies. Alright, so instead of writing things on a piece of paper, I decided to venture into the 21st century and use the notes on my phone. I know. Okay, so most of these movies are from the 80s. It's not like I was seeking out 80s horror films specifically, but it just so happened that most of them were in the 80s. So if you don't like 80s horror films, what is wrong with you? No, I'm just kidding. That was aggressive. No, if you don't like 80s, if you do like 80s horror films, this video is for you. And if you don't like 80s horror films, I think this video is particularly for you, because although a lot of them are from the 80s, they're so vastly different. And I think that a lot of the time when you hear 80s horror, you think of like, you know, the typical Evil Dead, just over the top, super campy, blood everywhere. And there are some of those in this list too. But that's not all 80s horror is. And so I wanted to, I mean, with anything that I do, any list that I make, it's pretty eclectic. I like things that are a nice juxtaposition from one another. So this is not all the same category of movies by any means. It's quite different. So that if you hate one of the movies that I mentioned, that's totally fine, but hopefully you can find something else that you really enjoy in there. So, but just a warning, most of these are older movies. Shudder has John Carpenter's Halloween, Hellraiser, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Black Christmas, George A. Romero's Night of the Living Dead. So if you want like super classic films that everybody loves, you can watch those. But this one is gonna be a little bit different. Okay, so we're gonna start with Demons, 1985, directed by Lamberto Bava, if I'm saying that correctly, but it was also produced by Dario Argento. So if you don't know who Dario Argento is, he's like the master of Italian horror. He made movies like Suspiria, Deep Red, Opera, Inferno, all sorts of super gory, fun movies that people love. Demons is such a fun movie. Now this one is like your Evil Dead, really campy, super silly, doesn't make a whole lot of sense, not really, but it's just so bloody and so fun. It has an excellent 80s soundtrack. I'm talking phenomenal. The practical effects, excellent. It really is reminiscent of Evil Dead. So it's about these people who go to this free movie and turn into demons and start killing each other. Let's just say at one point in the movie, the protagonist is driving a motorcycle in the movie theater with a samurai sword, murdering demons. Yeah, let that sink in. It's an awesome movie. And then I'm going to tell you my favorite part. If you care about spoilers, then like fast forward 10 seconds. But my favorite part of the movie is when a demon crawls out of a human's back. Like she gets possessed by a demon and then it like manifests and crawls out of her back. It's such an amazing scene. When I saw that, I was just like, Oh my god, my mind, this movie's fantastic. So our next movie is The Changeling. This movie is from 1980, and it was directed by Peter, not even close, Medak. Medic, maybe? I'm so bad with name pronunciations. Anyways, this movie is about a man named John Russell, and he's living in this like beautiful old manor. It's basically your classic haunted house tale. What I thought was interesting about this one, and I'm not getting all feminist on you, I'm just making an observation. With most haunted type movies, and this is a generalization and it's not true for every movie, of course, but typically I feel like it's a female protagonist, and a lot of the movie is her kind of trying to make others believe her that she's seeing ghosts, but because she's emotional, because she's been through something, you know, nobody's believing her. I thought it was really interesting having a male as the protagonist, and it was so different from most films because there was none of that, like, oh, nobody believes me. Like, he was believed right away. And again, this is not a feminist rant. This is why I'm telling you I really enjoyed the movie, because it wasn't like, oh, please believe me, my house is haunted for half the movie. It was like, no, let's get into it, let's figure out what it was. So I thought that was like an interesting twist on what kind of our modern day haunted stories are. Because I was thinking about them, like, I know Gothica is not a great example because she did kill her husband, but, you know, most of that movie is people not believing her that she's seeing things. I understand why, because she murdered her husband. There's also a movie that I can think of. It's called Something Room, A Something Room. And like, it's her and her husband, they moved to a new house and she's seeing ghosts and her husband thinks she's crazy. And you know what I mean? That's like the typical modern story nowadays. The Eye with Jessica Alba, things like that, where they're experiencing these paranormal experiences and people are just negating whatever it is that they're feeling because they've gone through something traumatic. So this was really interesting because, one, it's a heartbreaking story. A man loses his family and then is like attempting to put his life back together over the loss. Just seeing like that male protagonist in shambles was really heartbreaking. This movie just touched me. It's not bloody, it's not gory, it's not scary, but it is a little creepy, and I don't know, I really enjoyed this movie. So that was one that I wanted to incorporate too. Okay, this movie is not from the 80s, and this isn't even a horror movie. It's what do you call those? It's a documentary about horror. It's called Why Horror. It's from 2014 and it's by Tal Zimmerman. I think he pronounces it Tal. And it is a really interesting documentary. So it kind of talks about why individuals are attracted to horror, what makes us intrigued by it. It also gets perspectives of like Eli Roth, John Carpenter, George A. Romero, the Soska sisters. So like really prominent horror directors in the industry right now and in the past. It's just interesting to see the difference, the diversity of answers, but also the similarities as well. Horror, like that question, why horror, is such a difficult thing to answer, you know? I mean, we all have our reasons for watching it, we all have our reasons for loving it, but I can't articulate what it is that I'm so obsessed with. And growing up, I was always the weird girl that watched horror movies, and it's just something, I don't know, in my soul that calls out for it. So although the why horror question isn't necessarily answered, it's a really awesome documentary. So he converses with a wide variety of people, you know, psychologists, sociologists, editors of like Rue Morgue, Fangoria, illustrators, actors. It talks about different fears, it talks about different cultures, horror in Japanese culture versus horror in Mexican culture versus horror in American culture, and it's just a really interesting documentary. It's really short, so it doesn't dive super deep into everything, but and I think that it is a fantastic well done documentary, and I really do highly recommend it. So I know it's not technically a film, but I'm gonna put it in here anyways cause I want to. So my next favorite on Shudder is Phantasm, 1979, directed by Don Coscarelli. This movie is so good. Half of it is like a weird fever dream, and the other half is just visually so beautiful. The mansion that it was filmed at is the same mansion in So I Married an Axe-Murderer, if you remember that movie. I love that movie. They also create this big mausoleum that a lot of the movie takes place in, and it's just so beautiful. This movie is so beautiful. The scenes are fantastic, the transitions, like the dream sequences, everything is so good. Everything is there for a reason, and there's so much foreshadowing in it. It's such a beautifully done movie, and it's amazing. Also, the antagonist is called, like, I think he's called just the Tall Man or something, and one of his weapons of choice is this floating orb ball, and it like sticks in your skull and then drills in your head, and like blood squirts out the back. It's fantastic. Ugh. I can't even really tell you what it's about because it'll ruin the entire movie if you haven't seen it. But just know it's like a family, not a family film. It's like a brother and a it's a brother and a brother. It's two brothers, and they're fighting against this tall man. That's pretty much all I can say because I don't want to give too much away. But I'm telling you, you will not be disappointed if you watch this. It is so fantastic, and probably a lot of you were like, I've already seen this. But oh, another thing I wanted to point out was that he made this as kind of like an ode to traditional European surrealist cinema, and one of the films that was kind of correlated with it was, I'm gonna put the title here, it's in French so I'm not even gonna try. It's actually a film by Salvador Dali, and I can't remember the other guy's name off the top of my head. I'll put it here too. If you haven't seen this, check it out. I think it was done in like 1929 or something, and so I just thought it was interesting that he's paying homage to this like surrealist type of style, but the movie makes perfect sense and it's beautifully done. It's just fantastic. I can't give it enough praise. The music is so amazing. Oh my gosh, there's just like one track that plays over and over again. First of all, can I just say, I love when horror films have like one song that you associate with it. So like, what's that song in Scream that, oh, that plays in every Scream movie, that like, by his red right hand, I think it's called Red Right Hand, right? So like that song, but I'm talking about like just music that's related to, you know, what I'm talking about, like Halloween has one, Friday the 13th has one, The Shining. Oh my gosh, in the new Dr. Sleep trailer, when it started playing that music that's in the movie The Shining, I got chills. So this movie was like that. Wow, fantastic movie. Must see, my friends. Oh, another thing about Phantasm. If you're wondering, in the film, there's like a door that the tall man keeps stuff. I'm trying not to give too much away. And above the door is this ceramic faces. I know what that is. And so I'm like, I have to figure out what that is because I know that picture in my head. And it turns out that they're the 7 great heroes of the Trojan War. And so I just wanted to throw that out there because if you saw it and you were like, what is that? I know what that is, and it drives you crazy. I just wanted to help you out because I was up so late at night being like, no, I know that. I know what that is. What is that? Okay, the 5th movie. So this is The Stuff, a 1985 film directed by Larry Cohen, and it is fantastic. Okay, so I love horror films that are just bloody and silly, and that's all good and fine, but I love a horror film that has a meaning behind it. So The Stuff is kind of like They Live. I've had this for so long. My brother bought this for me. He's such a nice dude. I'm getting so off track. So it's kind of like a They Live type film, but instead of aliens, external forces kind of keeping us asleep, keeping us, you know, consuming and just doing the same thing over and over again, it's more big business. It's just about American corporations. What happens is this stuff comes up from the earth and people are packaging and selling it because as like a dessert because it tastes really sweet and it's really good. And so big business is like getting in on it, and everyone's trying to like find the ingredients so they can make their own because everything's about money and nobody gives a shit about anything else. It's really just a commentary on the dangers of consumerism, and it's so interesting because in the film they compare the stuff to Coca-Cola. So they say that the same laws that are protecting the stuff from being produced without the ingredients list being made public is the same stuff that protects Coca-Cola from doing the same thing, not telling us what's in it. Poison. Delicious. delicious poison. Yeah, so it's really about like big corporations making money off of people consuming something that's not healthy for them. It's killing people. It's turning them into like crazed maniacs so they can get more of the stuff. The practical effects are phenomenal. What else do I want to say about this? The protagonist of the story is kind of trying to fight against big business and destroy the stuff being given to the public, because this is the scary part, is that everybody is consuming it, yet nobody knows that it's dangerous and that it's killing people. It's so interesting how so many different themes in past movies are directly related and are social commentaries to our life now. It's just really interesting how nothing has changed since the 80s. And it's scary, you know. At one point he says Americans are being poisoned faster and quicker than you could imagine, talking about the stuff, but is it really about the stuff, you know? Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you again on Friday, and watch lots of scary movies. Watch some of these and let me know which ones you like. Alright guys, bye.